Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Michelle. How are you today?
Fine. How are you?
Great, great. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Uh, I'm here with Jennifer Luce, FAIA. Jennifer Luce is a licensed architect practicing in California and New York with a Bachelor of Architecture from Carleton University in 1984. She received the A. Dunham Alumni Award of Distinction and is a member of the Alumni Council at the Design School. In 1994, Jennifer earned her Master of Design Studies from Harvard University and is now a member of the Alumni Council and HAA Alumni Board. In 2016, the American Institute of Architects recognized Jennifer's outstanding contribution to the field and elevated her to the College of Fellows. Jennifer is passionate about research, process, and materials, and maintains a strong presence in the international architectural community. She serves on a variety of advisory boards for cultural institutions and presently co-chairs both the AIA California Monterey Design Conference and the San Diego Civic Center Revitalization Citizens Committee. Jennifer established her eponymous multi-disciplinary architectural practice, Lucette Studio, in 1990. Now, with over 3 decades of award-winning project experience, Lucette focuses on her on civic and cultural buildings, creative workspaces, restaurants, and urban design interventions. Lucette Studio has completed projects for the San Diego Public Library, San Diego Museum of Art, the New Children's Museum, Museum of Contemporary Art, and most recently, the $55 million renovation and expansion of the Mingei International Museum at Balboa Park, which is absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Michelle. That's really kind.
So, how are you doing today?
Great, great. The year is starting off very quickly.
So, what are your first recollections of experiencing architecture?
Well, I was always interested in design and had lived in many different houses as my parents traveled and established their businesses in different cities. So I think I was always curious about this notion of space and belonging, but I didn't really know why or what that was about until much later in my studies. But very interested in math, very interested in the arts. And I finally figured out that architecture was a beautiful combination of the two. And so pursued an interest in that and did my undergraduate work in Canada.
So, but you're not Canadian.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are Canadian. Okay.
You'll hear the accent come out now and then. Out there. That was the word.
I thought that you were Canadian, but then when you said that you pursued your education in Canada, I'm like, oh, maybe she's not Canadian. Maybe she just went up there for school, you know? Yeah.
I don't know who would go up to snow for school, but
It's because we grew up, like I grew up in Pittsburgh and people, they'll sit there, oh, what's the weather like in San Diego? Oh, you're so spoiled. And I'm like, no, I grew up in snow. I spent a year in Denmark. I said, I'm very well aware of what it's like in cold and snowy weather. That's
right.
That's fine. Yeah. That's why I live here. So it's and then did you graduate and come down here then?
It was very fortuitous. I my very first job in an architecture studio, my first assignment was to be a part of designing a prison. And it really made me step back for a second. And I entered a competition in my first month of working to design a building in Washington, D.C. And I won the competition. So I was 24 years old. And the organizers said, that's great, but you need to come to the United States and you need to associate with an American firm. And all of this was incredibly confusing and rapid. And 2 weeks later, I was living in Miami, Florida, and working side by side with Arquitectonica on the project. So we were
Oh,
flying.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was a wonderful way to be literally thrown into the profession without a sense of how to do anything or how to negotiate. Forget it. But it was wonderful because I was immediately exposed to a pretty radical and fascinating practice in Miami,
Hmm.
and then traveling to Washington every few weeks in order to meet with the clients and just learning so much about the profession and particularly interdisciplinary work, which I became fascinated with.
Hmm.
And at the time, Martha Schwartz was just beginning her work as a landscape architect. And
Hmm.
I'll never forget one day she walked into the office and asked if she could show us her stuff. And no one really had the time but me. I put my hand up and said, great, I'll take a look. And she blew my mind about what landscape architecture could be. And so we hired her for the project, and we have been colleagues and friends and ever since 1984.
So it was just like a cold call with her or something? Like she just
Yeah.
came in or really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A testament to her strength and tenacity, which has always impressed me through the years. But, I got a chance to meet all these people, and the project was difficult. And, ultimately, we were able to complete it, I think, in about 4 years. But within that time, at that age, I was meeting incredible people, including
Yeah.
Zaha Hadid and,
Yeah. Yeah.
very important people in the profession. So it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah. And I mean, Lorinda Spear was, or it still is a woman architect. And that was probably great to have her as
Yeah.
a mentor.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Yeah.
So she has a million kids. That's not.
There were only 15 of us in the office at that time. There's hundreds now. So it was a completely different place.
Yeah. Yeah. So what project was it in DC?
It's called the Center for Innovative Technology, and it was a partnership between high tech research and the universities of Virginia. So it was a place of innovative research, really. And it sits across the freeway from Dulles Airport. You can see it when you're flying in. I mean, phase one of it got built, and it's really fantastic. It's a sort of a visual icon in the community. Um, Over the past 30 years, the trees have grown in, and it's become a forested place. But just a really wonderfully inspiring project.
Huh. And then why did you were the clients did they kind of have a say in who the architect of record would be to like pick Architectonica or
Well, actually, the architect of record was in Washington.
okay.
But they asked me, they said, who would you like to work with in terms of
Okay.
design? And at the time, I mean, that was
Oh yeah, of
a
course.
moment when
Yeah. Yeah.
Architectonica was like
Yeah.
on the map, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. Because it was what, like
84.
1984. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Miami
I started
Vice,
architecture school in 1982. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Um, those are pretty good first recollections of experiencing architecture.
Yeah, exactly. Thrown into the frying pan, basically.
So what three classic buildings do you like and why?
Well, I guess my question there would be, what is a classic building? Because I would
Not a
imagine in my
thing,
mind,
right? Yeah.
modernism is
I say
classic in a way,
classic, not
not
classical. That's
classical.
yes, yeah, not classical. I say classic, so it's classic, right? Like,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So hopefully the right answer can be over a stretch of time, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
So,
It's whatever you want. I mean, people have said like, "Oh, I don't
right.
want buildings. I want a type of architecture." I'm like, "That's fine. That's
Mhm,
whatever you want to do."
mhm.
Yeah.
So maybe iconic for me would be La Tourette, Le
Okay.
Corbusier, because of a visit there that I shall never forget, of being able to stay overnight and really feel the building. It had a sensibility to it that was remarkable to me. I think the Pompidou Center for me, Richard Rogers really was my hero for so
Mhm.
long, and just out of the blue was also the judge on the competition that I won. So I that was extra thrilling for me to have him select our project.
Ah,
Yeah, and then I would I would say Renzo Piano. Um, Oh my gosh, there are a few projects, but I would say the Whitney for me.
okay.
So none of these buildings have necessary classical features to them. In fact, they're completely opposite from that. But to me, they've become representations of a moment in time and a sense about change. That's
Mhm.
what I love about them.
Mhm. Yeah. You can still stay overnight at La Tourette, can't you?
I think so. It's been a long time since I've been there, but
Hmm. Yeah. Pompidou Center of I didn't go into the Whitney. I was just outside. But Pompidou Center, I definitely that's
it's been renovated twice now, and it's just this wonderful organism that allows things to happen to it, and
yeah.
it survives in its entirety. In its entirety, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like, you have a machine and then there's all the parts and then you have to add like some other function and then that's integrating those parts in with that like kind of existing machine and then it works out okay because that's kind of the way that it's structured,
Yeah.
as being like all these parts that you can see. Um, so what do you like about being an architect?
You're asking me on a specific day. Okay.
Right. Right. Well,
Oh, I
besides that, we could go into this. I was talking to this media person and I was like talking about all these things. I said, yeah, the problem is that we can't really like talk about any of that stuff because, then maybe we might never get any work or something if we like talk about all these things.
yeah, I would go back to the first urge, which is this combination of the arts and the math mind. So
Mhm.
I get to energize both sides of my brain. Um, but I think ultimately it's the contribution to, whether it be community or someone's personal life or their work life, this idea that you're helping others.
Mhm.
And it's either, to build community, to change someone's path of life, or to alter the way they work. Those are the things that really are so satisfying to me. And we worked a lot in the private sector and the cultural public sector, and both are equally for me satisfying in that way.
Mm. Yeah. So math, I think, is interesting. So you're really
Mhm.
good at math?
I was. You don't really have to be anymore, um, but it's just this notion of um, systems
Okay.
and repetition and all of the things that are part of a math mind that you can you utilize to really create the cadence of a work, to create
Uh-huh.
the composition of a work. And, I grew up in a family of textile designers who, repeated patterns and saw the world at a different scale from the minuteness of a drawing of a
Hmm.
pattern, for in particular with my dad, it was Paisley's, to how that would translate itself in a large scale. And
Uh-huh.
um, that was mathematics to me as well.
Yeah. Yeah,
So it was,
the person that owned the place where we lived in Venice, she was a textile designer, and her husband was an electrical engineer and was like at one point was like working on Air Force One. And um I just always, she kind of had this whole thing. And then, because of fashion, she would say like, "Oh yeah, that's not in right now," And so it's like you're a textile designer, but if like patterns aren't in that year, then you're like, okay, then what do you do? Then you're like trying to like come up with like something else to do with these. But I
Mhm.
didn't realize that. So both of your parents were into textile?
My father worked for Liberty of London,
Okay.
and my mother designed knitwear,
Okay.
which is also very mathematical because it's about the stitches and how many and where. And so it was always
Yeah.
fascinating to watch them work. And,
Yeah.
you don't see that as an influence as a child. And our entire house was patterned, everything, my clothing, the sheets, the curtains, um, which which laid its mark on me, right?
Uh,
I'm sure I laid a bit in bed at night counting, the stripes and the.
no, I did. I had this wallpaper in my room because we lived in this house that was like, I don't know, it had to be at least like 75 years old when I was, when I was in there, but it was, I don't know, it's probably like late 1800, maybe it was built in 1905 or something. And so right, and I was born in 64, so yeah. But I would like look at this wallpaper and we just kept it. It was like old wallpaper, but it was very faded, but there was this intricate pattern on it. And probably if I saw it again, I would immediately recognize it. But I mean, I don't know whether I could really like draw it exactly the way it was. But yeah, it was definitely, and I would like look at that or look at um the curtains and the way that the light would come into and the different shadows on it. And my grandmother knit, which is very, she knit and she used to knit us like all of these different, like all of our mittens, slippers, they were like they were all hand knit, and of course, then, it's like all of this kind of um
Mhm,
made to wear cheap stuff was coming in at the time,
mhm.
like when I was in grade school, and I would all of a sudden I would look like, oh, I don't want these things that are like handmade. I want
Right,
junk that you can buy in the store. Right, or you can
right.
buy, and so my mother had just she made these incredibly, I mean, paisley, like we had my brother and I both had matching paisley corduroy Nehru jackets and hats
Mhm,
that she made us,
mhm.
because my brother and I were about the same. He's 2 years younger than me, but he was like always as big as me, And so I'm going to put it in the blog for this. I'm going to put the picture of us like sitting on top of
That's
this.
great.
Yeah, on top of this Yeah, just it was in our house and we're like both there and I've got like I didn't have the hat on at that time. I had the hat in another one. I'll try to find that other picture, So I've like these pigtails, like these with these long pigtails and then this Nehru jacket and my brother and we're like
That's
and then
great.
my mother's cousin was there and she had one of those furry hats with
Mm-hmm.
that had the tie with the
Mm-hmm.
balls on the bottom.
Sure. Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll put that too. But I mean, it's fun. It's like now I'm like, oh my gosh, I would want some of those outfits now to wear. I would
Mm-hmm.
totally wear something like that if I
Completely.
found, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
You
The
know.
other thing that I realize now was an influence is my father would work with hand weavers and hand knitters and these colonies of groups of women in Ireland and Scotland. Um, and he would come home and tell us stories about working with them in the villages that they lived in. And I think it really influenced me to respect the work of artists and notions of craft. And so when we began Mingei, it all started coming back to me that that's really where my interests came from.
I mean that felt curtain that you have.
Hmm. Hmm. In the
I mean, I
theater.
like, yeah,
Yeah, that's a work we commissioned actually with
yeah, yeah.
Petra Bley from the Netherlands, and it was so easy to work with her because I got it. I could really understand her language of working with pattern and textile, and
Uh-huh.
so
Yeah.
I feel like without knowing it, I had this great upbringing of being exposed to all of these wonderful people and notions and concepts, and that I would eventually bring to the work.
Hmm. Which I think it's great, like knowing that background and then seeing the Mingei, which is so much about craft. And, I mean, I don't think I had ever really been in the Mingei and maybe I had been in one of the exhibits upstairs, but until your renovation, it's like, could we even get up to the floors up above?
Yeah, and actually there was an atrium that opened between the two. It was a much smaller space though than it
Oh,
is now.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I just didn't remember like as much and I really think that it's nice because it's like, were you part of the exhibit design too?
Uh, Not this version, but we did work with Mingei many years ago, and we designed a permanent bead gallery for them. And that's really
Okay.
how we got to know them. And
Okay.
it was wonderful. So yeah, the project really, for me, embodies everything I
Mhm.
believe in.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, the rhythm of that with the outdoor space outside of the restaurant,
Hmm. The
kind
fence.
of, yes,
Hmm.
but the
Yeah,
columns, but they're not really column because they're all individual, but just the rhythm of that and the pattern that's in there. So,
yeah.
yeah, I get it, Jennifer. I get it.
Clearly, you do. I love it.
So, why did you apply for fellowship and what topic,
Hmm.
did you choose?
Hmm. I can't recall the official name, but it's about contribution to the design aspect of what it is we do as architects.
Okay.
Um, it was at the encouragement of Ann Worth, who was working in the studio with me at the time, and it was such a wonderful suggestion. I had never really seen myself as a senior person, a person who's already experienced maybe half their career or more. I always see myself as this little 24-year-old who's trying to figure out how to get to the United States and start working as an architect. But there is a moment, I think, where you have to stop and pause and say, well, pat yourself on the back, first of all, that you've gotten to this point in your career, but also to really look back on it and understand what that means for the future. And so even the act of putting together the application is a self-guided study
Hmm.
of your work. And it's really worthy for your personal growth to do that. And then to realize, we all need some level of self-confidence in what we're doing. And it's a difficult profession to keep the stiff upper lip. And I think to put all of that information together allows you to see, yeah, I've made a contribution, and here's what I really want to do next with that. So
Hmm.
there's the desire in the moment to be recognized, of course. And then there's the opportunity to think of it as a future.
Hmm. Yeah. Jennifer, I think it's interesting because when I ask this question of women and then I ask this question of men, they're totally different, but they're all in the same vein for men and in the same vein for women. Where with
Mm-hmm.
women, it's like they've been asked and they're like, oh, am I really that worthy? And then for the men, it's like, oh, well, so and so told me that I should do this, even though they were pretty young in the profession, and then they've decided, or women have said like, oh, I wanted to do it because I wanted to show other women that they could do it, and I wanted to be an
Right.
example for other women. And then, I mean, of course, it always comes down with like, oh, I mean, I think both male and female will say like, oh, it's just, it's like when I look back at the work that I've done, it's pretty impressive. But I think for women, it almost seems like a surprise, or like with it, it's like for me, like you doing something like that at 24, I would be like, well, of course you're gonna apply for fellowship because you had done this amazing project at 24. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely
Mm-hmm.
worthy. You would definitely, I'm sure you probably would have been accepted. Where but it's like, oh yeah, they asked me, and of course I did, and I mean, I don't know, it always seems like they start maybe a little bit, younger in the game, like
Mm-hmm.
applying for fellowship, or they're like recommended earlier or something like that, let alone,
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. So I
Yeah,
mean,
it was a very proud moment, and it was so wonderful. The entire group of people who were elevated that year, maybe there's 6 or 8 of them that I knew, and they just happened to be, in the same alphabetical order as my L. And so we were all
uh-huh.
together, and we just smiled at each other and thought, yeah, this is really worth the effort on
Uh-huh.
so many levels. And it also gives you a sense that you have a responsibility now to give back in a certain way. And I
Mhm.
think that's a nice moment in time in your career to realize that it's not just all about trying to achieve and trying to achieve. It's like, now,
Yeah.
okay, what can I offer back? And so I really had already begun mentoring
Mhm.
young women designers, and I intensified that
Mhm.
at that moment.
What year was that?
2016.
Was that in Chicago?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, which was wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so what would you like to say about the future of architecture?
Mm. Well, I've certainly been thinking about it this week, with the fires in Los Angeles that are just so devastating. And we have a client who lost 2 houses and a friend who lost his
Mhm.
house. And,
Yeah.
and, on
Yeah, me too.
the
Yeah.
first reaction, uh, for me was that I was viscerally feeling for them, because I think as architects, we truly understand what home means
Yeah.
and how devastating it is to lose that sense of belonging.
Mhm.
And I just was completely devastated for them.
Mhm.
And so that that's told me that yes, what we do on that level as giving people a grounding in the world is really important to keep doing,
Mhm.
and almost more important now than it used to be, because there's so much uncertainty in
Mhm.
the world. Um, so if we can help people solve problems, instigate change, and find home, that's for me just about all of it.
Mhm.
Um, and then now we just have this responsibility to understand what's happening to the world, to nature, and be able to participate in surviving and
Yeah.
enriching. And, these are things that I am just learning about. And we have two clients right now who are really helping me to learn about the imperatives and where we can make a difference. And it's not just language anymore. It's becoming critical
Mhm.
that we're not just making buildings. We're making safety. We're making pre- preservation. It's so many things. Um, so I think in some ways the profession is the same, or the purpose is the same, but let's add on that extra aspect of pure survival and um, regeneration of nature.
Mhm.
How can we be a part of that?
I think it's so much we have to, it's the responsibility, right? I mean, like, so, it's like, of course, like legally we have to be, in responsible control, but this like responsibility is that we also have to be responsible, in order to, um, responsible to the client as far as and is responsible to earth and nature itself.
Yeah, responsible.
Yeah,
It's
responsible.
really important word. And
Mhm.
I have many friends in the landscape profession who are very intent on communicating how that profession can be more responsible to the environment. And I think architects are lagging behind on that level, but looking at the work of Norman Foster, it's pretty remarkable what his studio is able to accomplish. So I have a lot of optimism about it.
Mhm.
Um, at the same time, a realism that we are in a difficult moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right. It's like building is one of the most, um, you can't help. I mean, there's a lot of energy that it takes. We are consuming a lot of things when we build. It's one of the most, kind of destructive or, um, uh, as far as like sustainable, it's not a very sustainable practice as far as like what building is, but it's necessary. And how do we do something that's necessary, but then also be, responsible and sustainable and,
Mhm.
and being able, right? Because, that's what we need to do. I mean, that's necessary for the
Mhm.
existence of
Mhm.
of people.
Yeah.
And as much as people, I mean, I know it's kind of like, oh, we don't have enough room, oh, we don't have enough room for people, right? It's like, oh, it's like, well, where are those people going to go, right? There's people, they're here, they need to be housed. It's like
Mhm.
and it's part of, I mean, we need to explain. I mean, I feel like I have to explain to people again and again, there's clients, of course, they're lot of like single family homeowners that, like they see a high rise going up, close to them, and they don't understand. It's like, I don't understand like why they could be building this here. I'm like, well, we
Mhm.
need housing. Well, there's plenty of houses around. I'm like, no, there really are plenty of houses all around.
No,
It's like
no.
there isn't. I mean, that's the reason why, I have like two kids in my house, right? Two grown kids in my house, and then like one that's like subletting in Orange County, right? And not the place. I mean,
Mhm.
she can't wait to get out of that situation. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
so there isn't enough available housing for people to afford. I mean, it's like there is that scarcity, and I think also part of our job is kind of to educate about how we can house people and how it's necessary and what's the best way that we can do that we can involve people, but um,
Yeah,
kind of
I
like
think,
help them with that, help them understand why, and not, being, help them in that process.
yeah, I think that um, it's happening more and more that I can observe is that we're actually, as a profession, becoming more involved in decision making, politics, finance. How can we play a role in helping all those aspects of a project do the right thing? And
Mhm.
it's only through education and involvement and participation. We're not just sitting at our drafting boards waiting for the go, to make a beautiful drawing anymore.
Yeah.
It's actually
Yeah.
understanding the way the world works or isn't working and how we can help to improve.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of education that I think we need to be doing all the time about what's happening.
Hmm.
Um,
I mean, one
it,
of the
it,
things
it,
that I was like showing to my clients, it's like, well, why is that being built? And it's like this, we're single family, and I'm like, well, you're single family here, but right there is it's zoned multifamily, and I said I can tell that it's been multifamily for quite a long time because you can tell by the different ages of all of the different multifamily complexes down. I said, it's at least been since the 40s because that's a 40s multifamily complex right there. So
Mhm,
you can judge even by the age of the building, and kind of like explaining this to them. It's like, yes, along this area it's been
mhm,
multifamily for a long time. And,
mhm,
yes, now because the city has, these has changed the zoning to, increase, right, like 10%, but it's less for the city of San Diego, right? Is it 5%?
yeah, I think so. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as low income or very low income, and then you can increase the density, no parking, but I mean
Mhm,
these are things that we're doing in order to house the population, right?
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it's intense here, maybe more than most places.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So is there anything else you'd like to say about the
About,
future of architecture? About the future of or anything?
I think maybe you and I can relate on this. I started my practice drawing with my hand, and we're probably the last generation that did. And
Yeah.
it took
Yeah.
me a long time to embrace digital technology in the office, whether it be drawing plans or making renderings. Um, but I'm beginning to understand that there's just so much to learn and so much to offer through these processes. And I'm probably not going to take advantage of it as much as I could in my practice as it moves along. But I'm so excited for what that future will be, seeing the world in digital three-dimensional quality early on in a project is it's pretty fantastic. And so it's just another level of optimism I have for how deep projects can dive. I mean, they still have to have human soul, and hopefully that will continue. But I do have an optimism for the future more than I did. I was bemoaning and grieving the loss of the hand, and it's probably okay. We're here to. I open up drawers in the office. They have, ink pens and all of the old tools that we used to use, and have this sort of chuckle, but it's my historical archive, and I love it. I still do it.
Well, I still do it. I mean, I may, maybe if, like I'm doing these 4 houses. So I had a friend that had asked me, it was right at the beginning of COVID. So they had asked me like, oh, do you have any draft? And because the three of the plans were similar and one was not, I mean, of course I hand drafted the whole thing first before I gave it to the person, so, the people were like, oh, people don't do that. And I'm like, well, there really wasn't any other way for me to communicate to her because she was in Northern California and I was here, so it's not like I could be sitting there, doing it. And I didn't have that technology with me, or maybe I could have started something and then passed it on to her. And then I have a person that's starting, they've done one of my projects in ArchiCAD that didn't go into CDs, but it was able, we were able to see, I mean, you can create renderings for somebody, right? It's all a BIM program. So you can create renderings and all these other things immediately, where of course, I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I saw, right? Because in our head, I mean, for a lot of us, right, we can, we know what's in our head. But conveying that to clients immediately so that they can see that.
Oh, there's a great advantage to that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, today, an artist sent me a little hand drawing of this light fixture he's designing for us over a dining table. And it was a beautiful little perspective drawing, and the table was there. There was a glass of wine on the table. That to me was so stunningly beautiful. So, I really hope that somehow the next generation can merge those two things together. And it's a lot of what we were studying when we were designing Mingei, because the original philosophy of Mingei was about work of the hand and work of the unknown artists and work of everyday use. And so we were really evaluating in our own office, what does that mean to us? Where does the hand meet the digital? And many of the moments in the museum that are maybe the most striking are the ones where those two things do come together.
Yeah. Like the piece outside, right? I mean, you drew that first, but the way that it was cut was probably right.
So the fence posts were digitally cut.
Yeah,
because it's very thick brass, but they were hand twisted. So we really purposely wanted that process to engage with both methods. And each of the artists or fabricators that we work with were really excited about that conversation. So we're at a really interesting time.
Yeah. How did they hand twist them?
With heat.
Yeah,
they get the metal so hot that it's malleable, so then they can twist. And each one has a different
tongs or something.
Yeah,
exactly. Okay,
and all right. And each one has a slightly different twist, and because that's the imperfection of of the human hand. And so it's beautiful.
And I'll have this in the show notes so you guys can see what we're talking about. I mean, I'll have your website and everything in there. Which you have in the website now. You have a video. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can show a lot of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, are you looking forward to anything with this? Is there anything else that's
everything is a progression, I think, and an evolution. And I feel as if there's another mode of expression that we ought to be utilizing. And we have supported the work of artists in our projects for so long that this year we're opening an exhibition gallery, an exhibition space within our studio. And we're going to invite artists to come.
Oh, you are? You know what? That is so great because I had in Venice Beach, I did that because Michael Falonis had done that in his office.
Oh, and, Michael, I love Michael.
Yeah. So he was one of our instructors at Cal Poly, and I had a special topics class with him. But I did rent space off of him when I was in Santa Monica. When we lived in Venice, and then his office was in Santa Monica. And so, yeah, he would have these openings at night. And so then when I got a studio that was there on Westminster, right off of Abbot Kinney, I did the same thing where I had artists, I only had like a few exhibitions there, but then I would have I'd have their work in the space, and I'd say, yeah, if you want anybody to come in and everything. And then it was like nice because you had somebody coming into the space that was like looking, yeah. When is that starting?
March 13th is our first reception.
Okay.
And it will be the work of Claudia Jongstra from the Netherlands, who made the textile piece that's in the restaurant at Mingei. And this integration of art into an architectural space is something we've been exploring for so long. And so why not do it in our own? And why not allow people to also wander through our space?
Yeah, exactly.
The curiosity
about
the curiosity about architecture and what is it? What do we do? So I'm very excited about that because I think it's a literal physical merging of two passions.
Yeah. And where is it? Which office is it at now? Are you in the same place that's off of Arena?
We're on
in the font or not? Okay.
No, we're on Ivanhoe Avenue in La Jolla in the village. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a beautiful space that's perfect for work and perfect for showing art.
Okay.
And it will be a gallery of design and craft more than fine art. And I think it's something that's missing in our community. It's definitely on the rise in places like New York and LA. But so often the disciplines of architecture and furniture making and graphics are crossing each other on a project. So we'll want that to be the theme of the gallery. Yeah.
And I think that a lot of that time, I think a lot of times people were saying that, like, oh, we're going to get into this computer thing and nobody's going to want to do anything from hand or see anything from hand. I said, no, I think there's a reaction to that. And that's, there are people that are, right there, like crocheting again, right? Like one of my neighbor crocheted this one top for me that I wore to my daughter's 30th birthday, and she crocheted that and she got, and then, just like, I think my daughter was at one point was like doing like some type of needlepoint and stuff like that, which is stuff that did you used to do that when you were in grade school or whatever? That's big, like embroidery and things.
Yeah. Embroidery for sure. Yeah. And but I was watching my father make textiles pretty intricately. So I didn't imagine I could hit that level. But yeah, this refascination with modes of the hand, craft of the hand, is something we really want to focus on in this space.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's, I think kids are just, I mean, I think you give kids that too. And it's just like this fascination with it, right? Like I've always
Yes,
given that stuff to my kids and kind of, and then it wasn't until my daughter took some class in college where she was like, oh, I finally get it. I finally get what you were doing with us. I finally get what you and dad were doing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So. Okay, well, that's great, and I look forward to March 13th, right? March
Yeah,
13th. Okay,
absolutely.
all
And
right.
then on the 15th, she'll be at Mingei giving a talk about
Okay,
sustainability in the arts and
okay.
climate change action and notions about indigo around the world. And she's brilliant. She's quite brilliant.
Yeah, the whole thing about indigo, I was like reading, I was like, oh my gosh, it's another thing for me to worry about. But anyway, yeah, it's,
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, very much. I'll have Lori send you some of the info on the whole. It's basically a whole long weekend of events.
oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah,
Is there
yeah.
something else going on during that or not?
There's a workshop on Sunday that she'll be giving at the museum as well.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, yeah. But it'll start. We'll start with our event at our studio.
All right. Okay. What time?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll
Okay.
send out the announcement in the next week or so.
All right. Okay. That
Yeah.
sounds good. Yeah. And then I'll make
Okay.
sure that I'll put that in the show notes too. Yeah.
Okay. Good. 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 Are we good?